Hey, good morning. So today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of us struggle with. I know I struggle with it. I know a lot of the clients that I work with struggle with it, and that's self-worth. And I work with a lot of people who have eating disorders. And one of the things that we do is I draw a circle and I say, okay, say this circle is you. And this circle is your self-worth, how you see yourself. And with people with eating disorders, a lot of times their body, how their body looks, how other people see their body, takes up a huge portion of their circle. When we start, usually it's around 90%. Um, and then as we start to dig into it, and we start to look at things like, am I a good friend? Am I a good listener? Am I caring? Am I compassionate? Am I intelligent? It starts to kind of equalize the circle. And I know that this is something that I struggle with. There are days where I wake up and how I feel about my body kind of determines how I feel about myself in general. Um, but the thing that I also want to kind of highlight with this circle is that sometimes we think that we have to earn our value. We have to do something in order to be worthy. Like even saying being a good friend or being a good listener, that's us having to do something in order to be valuable. And the second part, so where I start is with the circle to kind of reframe how we view our body and the value that we give our body. But then the transition is into I don't have to do anything to be valuable. Like just being born, just being created makes me valuable. And even when I make mistakes, I'm still valuable. It doesn't decrease my value. It just means that I've made a mistake. And when I think even about what I posted about last week about being at the women's empowerment retreat and being affected by the comments that were made, um, one thing that I realized is that when you're solid in who you are, when you're solid in your self-worth, things like that don't faze you. You just say, hey, they can think whatever they want. I take what's valuable, I throw away the rest. But how often do we let other people dictate how we feel about ourselves, about how we view our self-worth? And in one of my absolute favorite quotes, and I know I'm not going to get it perfect, but is Eleanor Roosevelt's quote where she says, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And this is absolutely true. But how many times do we walk into a room and our thought before we've ever connected with anybody is, do I belong here? Will they want me? Am I going to be too much? Am I going to be not enough? And what I'm inviting you to do is to wake up and claim your belonging. So waking up in the morning and telling yourself, because it's true, I belong here. I have value. I am loved, unconditionally, and the only way that that can slip away is if we allow it to, if we start to take on the feedback that we're getting from our environment. One of my goals is to be like a duck, where people can say things or they can do things and it just kind of rolls off my back. And I'll say I'm not there yet. I still kind of struggle with self-esteem at times, and I still let comments seep in. I still let them activate me. But that's a sign when I get activated by feedback from my external world. There's a difference between saying, okay, I've done something wrong, I want to correct. I want to repair what is broken in this relationship, or I want to take accountability for my mistake. But then there's another thing to take it on as shame and to say I am wrong because I did something that wasn't in alignment with who I am or who I want to be in relationship. And so what I'm inviting you to do this week is to just check in. When people, whether it's good or bad, and I'm going to use those terms very loosely, when people give us feedback, what does it do? When they give us positive feedback, does that boost our self-esteem?